Ladies and gents, let's talk recovery and energy protocol. And this is for immediate energy, okay? So if you are struggling with energy on the daily, this is how to literally fix your energy issues right now, today, all right? And believe it or not, this is possible. A lot of people think that if they have energy issues, it's related to a bunch of different things. In a lot of cases, there's many different things that you can do immediately right now from a diet, hydration, supplementation standpoint to improve your energy immediately. And I think this is one really cool thing, and probably my favorite thing of being a nutrition coach is when people start to make these changes and they improve on their diet quality, and then they hit me up like a day or two later and they're like, hey, am I supposed to feel this good already? Is it placebo effect, basically, is what they're asking. And my answer is always yes. You should feel better immediately, because this is the interesting thing about nutrients. Nutrients don't take 2 to 4 to 6 weeks to settle into your body and then start working. Nutrients work immediately. So as soon as you can digest, assimilate, absorb these nutrients, they can go to work, and they absolutely will go to work immediately, especially when you're lacking them. Your body will be thankful. It will be absorbing those things rapidly and putting them to use immediately. This is absolutely something that we can all take advantage of every day. This is something that I definitely prioritize every day to make sure I can essentially have the best energy from the moment I wake up in the morning, 5:30 a.m., whenever it is, until I'm winding it down at the end of the night, which, because I wake up early, it's probably about 9 p.m. But it does give me that opportunity to feel great all day, avoid the crashes, avoid the brain fog, avoid the energy issues, ups and downs, highs and lows. You get it, right? We've all been there. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys the ropes here on a little bit of an energy protocol. I've got 6 things, and these 6 things we can literally utilize on the daily to make ourselves feel better. I'm going to try to get through these quick. Full disclosure, this is my second time I'm filming this because I lost my train of thought the first time. I hit pause on the recording and then I got going again. I forgot to hit the record button again, talked to myself for 30 minutes, and then at the end, when I went to hit the stop, I realized that it was not recording. So here we are, round 2. Hopefully this time will go better. I'm not going to hit the stop button. I'll just have to edit if I screw up somewhere. So basically what this is, quick little, I mentioned energy and recovery protocol, how to just look, feel, and function great every single day, and how to impact it on the daily, right? The goal basically here is to replenish, rehydrate, and then re-energize the body within hours of basically anything that we're doing, whether it's daily training or stressors or whatever. But ideally what we want is, like I said, we want you to feel great from the minute you wake up in the morning to the minute you go to bed at night or whatever, right? We want to make sure we've got that all day energy, that lasting sense of feeling of wellness. This is absolutely the first place to start all the time. Whenever you are dealing with an issue, whether it's energy, a brain fog issue, feel like you're crashing out a little bit in the middle of the day, look here first. Look at your hydration, look at your electrolyte balance, or just, you're not going to know your electrolyte balance, but look to electrolytes in general, right? This is the quickest, easiest, lowest hanging fruit in order of how we can improve our cognitive and physical function. And it's also the thing that gets neglected the most. So many people go through the entire day. You might have coffee in the morning, another coffee mid-morning. You don't drink any water, then the afternoon hits and you're hitting that afternoon slump. You're not feeling great and we don't understand why. This, in a lot of cases, is the thing to prioritize. Make sure that we're focusing on hydration first. Really interesting. Dehydration reduces blood volume, impairs oxygen delivery, and slows recovery. So if we don't have oxygen floating around the body, we're not going to feel our best. And the crazy thing is that even just dehydration of 1 to 2% of your body weight. For me, I'm 200 pounds. All I need is 2 to 4 pounds of dehydration, which is really nothing, can significantly impair my cognitive function as well as physical function. This is not something to play around with, and it's also probably the most consistent thing that I see with people is everybody's saying they don't drink enough water, they don't prioritize hydration. Maybe you're very physically active, you're exercising frequently. Obviously, it's the summer now, so it's hotter, we're sweating more. Now, with so many people getting into saunas and all that type of thing, they're sweating a lot and not replacing electrolytes. So water is one piece of the equation, or one half of the equation, and then your electrolytes are the second half of the equation to make sure that you have adequate fluid balance inside and outside of your cells. And that takes electrolytes to make that happen, okay? We want to make sure that we prioritize this. What we're looking at here is we want to get about, I'm going to say half your body weight in ounces, right? So let me change that to half body weight in fluid ounces daily. That's an easy way to just prioritize, right? So again, I'm 200 pounds. I need to drink about 100 ounces of water, right? And then that's not really including your fitness or your workout time either, okay? Obviously, we want to be slugging a lot of water while we're exercising, but we definitely want to make sure that we are consuming water and we're hydrating regularly throughout the day. Post-training, so for those of us, I said, if we're sweating a lot, if we're going or having heavy workouts, about 16 to 24 ounces per pound of sweat lost. And again, I don't anticipate that you're weighing in before and after your workout to measure your sweat loss, but honestly, if you're doing an average workout, you're probably losing 2 to 3 pounds worth of sweat. So I would just really prioritize getting 32 plus ounces of water here post. I think that's an easy number to aim for. That's a regular water bottle, Yeti size water bottle, whatever. Just make sure we're aiming for that 32 ounces of post-workout rehydration. It's a really easy place to start. Now, if you had a real ass kicker or you were in a sauna for 20, 30 minutes or something, you may need more. In terms of the P chart, that's super easy. I put it on the bottom here. All we got to do really is just take a look here, and it's as long as we're peeing pretty clear, we're doing okay from a hydration standpoint. Obviously, the darker it gets, the more dehydrated we are. We really don't want to be seeing this, especially I've noticed this now, and now that it's hotter, you go for a run or whatever, and it's looking more like this for the second half of the day. We want to really avoid that and just prioritize our fluid intake. And then the other thing we've got here is we've got our electrolytes, right? Ideally, we want to be replacing sodium about 1,000 milligrams. Element is going to do this, Relight is going to do this, Scratch, all these brands, they're all going to have all this nice balance of electrolytes in all of these products. So I really like the idea, especially on heavy sweat days, you don't need to be doing this every day or all the time, but definitely if you're very active and you're sweating frequently, making sure that we are replacing and replenishing these electrolytes. Okay, so sodium, 500 to 1,000 milligrams or a half to 1 gram during your exercise. Potassium, we got to keep on board as well. 3 to 500 milligrams. Magnesium, definitely super important. The more you sweat, the more active you are, the more important magnesium becomes. 1 to 200 milligrams, but I honestly would supplement this. I really like magnesium as a supplement. It's great for a lot of different reasons: brain health, muscle function, relaxation, sleep improvements, all these things. So I try to supplement about 2 to 400 milligrams at night just before I go to bed as well, because I really think magnesium is a super beneficial electrolyte for many different reasons. And then also chloride, calcium, these are things that also we want to be getting through the diet, and they may be in very small trace amounts in some of these electrolyte powders that we choose as well, right? So this is the big thing here. And then best options, coconut water with a pinch of salt is great. Obviously we've got our electrolyte replenishment packets. That's an easy way to go about it. Bone broth, always really good, right? So bone broth or vegetable broth, there's probably going to be a little bit of sodium in there. Never a bad idea there from a hydration standpoint. Also some really good amino acids if you're doing a bone broth that can help the recovery process. And then we've got water, just good old-fashioned water with lemon. Put a little bit of sea salt, maybe a little bit of honey in there, and we've got a really nice replenishment recovery drink there. Okay, so this is 100%, like I said, like no matter what, if you're feeling tired, sluggish, foggy, whatever it might be, go here first. Look at your hydration always and prioritize your hydration always. This is never going to be something that we want to see obviously fall by the wayside, right? Because it's too easy to stay on top of it, and it's too impactful. If you are dehydrated, you're going to have a negative benefit. There's no two ways around it, right? So let's just make sure we take care of that. All right. And then that leads us to number 2, carbohydrate. Okay. Believe it or not, carbohydrate is your body's preferred fuel source, okay? So your body, your brain, highly running off glucose from the carbohydrate that you eat. So we really want to make sure that we are prioritizing some carbohydrate throughout the day. I know right now there's this huge low carb kick and everybody thinks carbs are the devil and whatever, but that's really not the reality of the situation. If we're looking for fast energy and a quick little bump, especially from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, if we're about to go do something physical, carbohydrates got to be on board, right? And then they can also be an excellent post-workout energy replenishment fuel, obviously, right? Carbohydrate restores glycogen. So all glycogen is stored carbohydrate inside the muscles. So you eat food, carbohydrate, say, your body will turn that carbohydrate that you eat into glycogen and store it in your muscles and your liver, and then use it next time you get active, basically. So we want to make sure we've got carbohydrate on board so we've got some usable energy. Cortisol, huge, everybody's enemy right now, right? Everybody's blaming cortisol for everything that happens to them, all the stress they have, all the body fat they have. People believe that it's related to cortisol. So believe it or not, carbohydrates actually help naturally just bring down your cortisol levels. Sometimes strategically having a little bit of carbohydrate at night with your dinner or a small carbohydrate-based snack before bed can really help reduce cortisol levels and improve your sleep quality, your relaxation, and your level of recovery and everything like that, which is really nice. And then also too, carbohydrates do help support muscle protein synthesis. So that's why the best mix for a post-workout meal is a little bit of protein and then some carbohydrate to make sure that we're getting the rebuild repair process from the protein, but we're also getting that energy replenishment. And some of those carbohydrates do help proteins get into the tissues and into the cells and help with muscle protein synthesis. But honestly, from a daily energy standpoint, if you need fast energy, that's typically why when you're starving, you go for something simple, right? Because it's the easiest form of fuel that your body can get. So we can definitely prioritize carbohydrate more so in the form of things like berries, banana, oats, sweet potatoes is always a good one, fruit, excellent way to get some extra carbohydrate on board, a little bit of rice, potato, quinoa beans, lentils, things like that. These are all excellent ways to get a little bit more carbohydrate into the body. And here's targets. This is post-workout, right? So this actually works out really well. So you go about 0.5 to 0.75 grams per kilogram. So if we did this like 100 times 0.5, right? Or 0.75, I'd be sitting at about 50 to 75 grams of carbohydrate post-workout, which is actually pretty much spot on in terms of what I'd want from a recovery standpoint. So most people are going to be between that 30 to 75 gram carbohydrate setup post-workout. That's probably going to be best for you based on your height and your weight and all those types of things, right? Definitely start to prioritize some carbohydrate post-workout and then throughout your day a little bit if you feel like you're lacking energy, and it can make a huge impact, huge benefit, right? So that's our number 2. Number 3, this one's a sleeper pick. People don't realize this. This is huge, okay? So pay attention to number 3. This is really important, and this is one of these things that you're gonna get an immediate bump from. So this one, and then number 6, which I'm obviously gonna get to at the end, the final one, these are ones that are really gonna give us that kick, and we can actually feel a big difference. B vitamins are water soluble, and this is really important to understand because water soluble vitamins can get, they can get digested, absorbed, they can get right into the tissues right away because they are water soluble, and they make a huge impact on our mitochondria, right? So our mitochondria and their energy production. So mitochondria literally produce energy from the food that we're consuming. We put energy into the system, mitochondria pumps it out. So if we want to have the most energy and feel the best, we got to have mitochondria doing its job, which is taking the energy that we consume and pump it back out as usable energy, right? B vitamins are really important for that, okay? So they also help with neurotransmitters, red blood cell formation, which obviously if we're low on red blood cells, we're low on oxygen, and then we're definitely low on brain and physical function, and then also stress resilience. So that's why a lot of times in these supplements, stress reduction supplements or whatever, they'll be loaded with B12, right? Because it does help from a stress resilience standpoint. But the thing that I really want to focus on here for this one is that these B vitamins help our body break down the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats, the macronutrients that we consume, and they'll help your mitochondria break those down and produce usable energy from them, right? That's huge, obviously, from a body composition standpoint, as well as an energy standpoint. We want to make sure that the food that we're consuming is getting processed and is getting utilized for fuel, right? So if we're low on B vitamins, we're literally low on energy production, which is crazy. This is a very common one where if I have somebody with a very low quality diet and they're probably not getting enough nutrients in, specifically B vitamins, soon as they add either a supplement or just better quality food to their day, they feel amazing right away. And this is exactly what it is, right? So it's these water soluble vitamins that are helping our body break down the food that we're consuming and create energy from it. So this is really a major focus point. So I think honestly, it's this. I focus heavy on B vitamins on a daily energy. If you really need an energy increase, focus on B vitamin rich foods. Carbohydrates can definitely help. And then here, the electrolytes with the water, huge, right? So if it was water, electrolytes, B vitamins, those things are going to make the biggest impact on your energy right now in this moment, right? And then here's the top food sources where we can get our B vitamins. It's mostly going to be animal-based proteins. Those are the ones that are going to be richest in B vitamins. So we've got eggs, red meat or liver being the highest, salmon, shellfish, and then we've got our leafy greens, our lentils, our avocados, nutritional yeast for vegans. So nutritional yeast will have B12. These others won't have B12. They'll have things like folate and the other B vitamins, but they won't have B12, and B12 is the one that's going to give you the energy bump, right? So we definitely want to make sure we've got some animal-based options in there, or if we're not doing that, we definitely want to make sure we're supplementing with a B complex vitamin so that we're getting all of these B vitamins. And then again, if we're trying to do it more the natural way, we can do the leafy greens, the lentils, the avocados, the nutritional yeast, those types of things. But this one's super, super important, so don't sleep on this. If you're feeling like you're dragging your ass all around and you're trying other things and it's not working, maybe look into taking a multivitamin or really just doubling down on these B vitamin rich foods. And you might be shocked at the difference that you feel. Which leads us into number 4. This one's the hot topic right now. Creatine, getting a lot of love everywhere, all over the internet. It's crazy because creatine's been around forever. People have been using it forever. At one point, it was thought of as more just a meathead supplement, maybe even a steroid or whatever. None of the above, right? All it is literally just an amino acid, right? So it's a protein derivative or a piece of a protein basically, and we can get it, our body produces it naturally. We can also get it through the food that we consume. So we'll get it through eating like red meats and fish and poultry and things like that. But we would have to eat very large quantities of these animal-based proteins to get your recommended 5 grams per day of creatine, right? It's a lot easier just to supplement with a 5-gram dose, 1 teaspoon. That's all it is per day. And like I said, all it is an amino acid, and believe it or not, it's an energy substrate, right? So your body and your brain use a lot of creatine as a fuel source. So especially when you're doing high intensity exercise, creatine is a primary fuel source for high intensity exercise. Creatine is an excellent supplement that's going to help you push harder and get a little bit fitter, a little bit stronger, and then a little bit leaner and all that stuff. So the body composition changes that you get from taking creatine are more a side effect of having improved energy output, right? And then also the brain relies pretty heavily on creatine as well as a fuel source. So there's some cool research and data around the impact of creatine on brain health and working memory when people are tired or under high stress, and that's most people nowadays, right? So I really do believe in creatine as it's a great cellular energy producer, can be really beneficial from an exercise standpoint for sure. That's a proven one at this point. And then now the brain's really starting to be the main thing that they're also focusing on. For the proposed brain and body benefits, I think it's definitely worth something to supplement on the daily. And you're not going to know it. You're not going to feel this one. But I do think, obviously, under the hood, it is helping things, right? So it will help you to just have a little bit more energy on the daily. It's not a stimulant, a caffeine or anything where you take your scoop of creatine and you're, wow, I feel great. But you will definitely just be operating at a bit of a higher level on the daily, whether you realize it or not, okay? And then timing of it, again, take it anytime. Consistency is best. You got to take it daily so that your muscles and your cells can stay saturated with it. Ideally, post-workout is best, but any time where you can be consistent with it is ideal. Okay, so that's number 4. Now we're getting into number 5. This one, again, you're probably not going to feel it in the immediate, but it's 100% having a massive impact on how you're functioning on the daily and how your body's feeling over the long haul. Antioxidants. People really don't think much about antioxidants and how they help us to manage that oxidative stress, inflammation, things like that in the body. Obviously, whether it's exercise or whatever, environmental pollutants or poor sleep or whatever we got going on, high stress, these free radicals, they come into the body, they create oxidative stress. That puts our body in a bit of a rundown state. And then here's where we can run into issues with fatigue and pain and maybe a little bit of brain fog and all these things. And then obviously inflammation. And if we become inflamed, then a lot of this stuff kicks up. So we want to make sure that we are prioritizing the management of that system. So if we want to avoid oxidative stress and we want to help rid the body of free radicals that cause this oxidative stress, we need antioxidants on board. The interesting thing about this too is that your antioxidant rich food is also going to be very nutrient dense. Okay, so not only are you going to get antioxidants when you consume more fruits and vegetables and plant-based protein sources and things like that, nuts and seeds and quinoa and lentils and beans and all those things, you're getting a pile of antioxidants, but you're also getting a bunch of vitamins and a bunch of minerals and all of these things that are really going to benefit just how you function on the daily. So these antioxidant rich food sources, super, super important to make sure that we're including. And if we just look at the top sources, you can see here, it's berries, citrus fruits, peppers, dark chocolate, green tea, pomegranates, dark leafy greens, things like that. So the easiest way to think about antioxidants and to know if you're getting enough of them is that you have a large quantity and a large variety of various colorful fruits and vegetables in your diet. So all of the different fruits and veggies, whatever their color is, that is related to their antioxidant structure. So like the greens have a different antioxidant structure than the reds, than the blues, and the purples, and the yellows, and the oranges, right? So we want to make sure we're going through the rainbow. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. Want to make sure we're trying to eat through the rainbow throughout the day, right? So trying to get a variety of different colors of vegetables and fruits in a mix every day is going to really help us hammer down on that antioxidant intake. It's also going to increase our nutrient intake and variability. And these things things definitely help us feel better on the daily. And I literally had an example where I spoke to a college student about this yesterday, where he was just away at college and he was eating like shit, right? He was eating garbage food. He was doing a lot of takeout and all that stuff. And he just got home a couple weeks ago from school and he started doing meal prep, and he's doing lean proteins and quality fiber dense carbohydrates, and he's including more vegetables and fruits in his diet. And he said, I immediately felt better. I'm sleeping better. My energy is way better. I wake up, I feel great. I didn't realize what I was missing until I made this change. And that's exactly how it works. You won't realize how shitty you do feel until you make this change and you get all the energy increases that are going to come with it immediately. So definitely something, don't skip on the antioxidants. Make sure you've got a really highly variable, colorful diet, and you'll definitely feel the benefits of that on the daily. So make sure we include that. And then this takes us to our sixth one, my favorite one. This one's going to give you an immediate bump right now when you take it. Okay, so that's our caffeine. All right, so caffeine, depending on who you talk to, good or bad, I think if you want to look at the body of the evidence, if you want to look at the research, caffeine is excellent. It helps with fat loss, it helps with brain function, it helps with metabolic function, it helps with liver health. There are so many benefits to getting a little bit of caffeine in your diet that I think this is one of those things that actually people should be including on the daily, as long as we're not becoming overly reliant on it and we're not abusing it, because then it's like a U-shaped curve, right? It's like we're going to get the benefits until we overdo it and then we start getting the downside, right? Caffeine enhances alertness, reaction time, endurance. It improves our dopamine release, makes us feel a little bit better. And then also to even perceived energy during exercise and those types of things. The thing about caffeine is it's not an energy producer, it's basically a fatigue blocker, right? So when you have caffeine, you don't necessarily get a huge energy bump, but what you do is blunt your body's ability to feel fatigue, right? That's why you feel like you can do more, run more, you're more alert, all this stuff, because the fatigue's just getting blocked. We get some nice benefits for circulation, blood flow, and if we have those circulatory and blood flow benefits, now we've got heart and brain health improved, right? So obviously if we've got more circulation, more oxygen, more nutrients floating around, the body's going to feel a lot better, it's going to be more energized. If we've got more oxygen and nutrients floating around into the brain, now from a cognitive side standpoint, we're going to be crushing it there as well, right? So to have some caffeine throughout the day, I think is really beneficial and really helpful. Like I said, we just want to make sure we're not like heavily overdoing it. Okay, so 2 to 4 milligrams per kilogram of body weight is the typical, right? So again, using myself as an example, or that 100 kilogram body as an example, I could go between 200 to 400 milligrams. No need to really be exceeding 400 milligrams per day. Make sure we're spacing it out a little bit, but not consuming it late into the afternoon, because the only problem here is when we're over consuming, we're going to get anxious, we're going to get jittery. We can also feel a little bit almost like nauseous or sick, so we don't want to overdo it with caffeine. And then also if we're consuming it too late into the afternoon, or we're consuming just way too much of it, then it's going to impact sleep. Then bad sleep is going to negate any benefit that you'd be getting from the caffeine, really. We want to make sure that we're not just caffeine addicts and just crushing it all day long and not sleeping well and not taking care of other aspects of our energy levels. So that's definitely something to consider here. And again, timing of it all, morning to midday, just make sure you don't disrupt your sleep. My big rule of thumb is I try to do 10 hours before bedtime. I'm trying to go to bed by 10, so I try to have my last bit of caffeine by noon, 1 o'clock kind of thing. One's really my cutoff, where I don't like to consume it any later than that. And I used to consume it later. I used to be one of those 4 p.m. coffee people. And then obviously when I adjusted that, I noticed how much it actually was impacting my sleep in a negative way. And then so obviously now I don't mess with that anymore. Best sources, definitely coffee. We talk about all the benefits of caffeine. A lot of these are associated with benefits coming from coffee drinkers, right? It's not energy drinks, it's coffee and tea basically, right? And again, because there's a lot of antioxidants and things like that in your coffees and in your teas that are also really helpful. So I would say this isn't your invitation to go buy a bunch of pre-workout powders or Celsius energy drinks, but definitely consuming some coffee, some tea, some matcha, yerbas, things like that are going to be really beneficial and helpful throughout the day. And just make sure we're keeping it to that 2 to 4 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight, and you'll be totally fine there. Okay. And again, just make sure we're doing this in moderation. So guys, that is... And it looks like I actually did it. I think I recorded it this time, so that's nice for everybody, including myself. But that's a summary of how we can increase and improve your energy immediately. So if you wake up and you're having a tough day, you had a poor sleep, or you're just hitting that wall, think about these 6, right? Hydration, B vitamins, carbohydrates, those are the things that are going to really kick your ass into gear pretty quickly. A little bit of caffeine where we can use it. definitely a good idea. And then the creatine and the antioxidants are just something that should be relied on daily as a benefit that you're probably not going to feel it, but it's definitely going to be doing the job, okay? That's the long and short of this whole thing, and this is the easiest way, where a little bit of a protocol daily, that things to focus on so that you can just feel great from the moment you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, all right?